By no means could anyone ever objectively describe Casey Wardynski as someone who is progressive, who is left, who is liberal.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
Let's talk about a couple crazy Alabama people really quick.
There may be a few of those.
There may be a few of those. We didn't get to this in the main show, but it's not important enough to save it for next week. So let's go ahead and play that Dale Strong attack ad against Wardysnki. Adam, I want you to tell me, as somebody who was an educator during his tenure as superintendent, I want to see if Dale Strong's ad about Wardysnki tracks with reality.
Okay. And just so everyone knows, I have not heard this or seen this, so this will be new for me.
Our kids are our future. Liberal Casey Wardynski failed them. As school superintendent, Wardynski defended Obama's woke curriculum and opposed school choice. And while he now claims to oppose critical race theory, Wardynski deployed a radical re-education program in Huntsville city schools, teaching white privilege and other CRT lies. Flunk Casey Wardynski. Choose Dale Strong, the conservative leader committed to keeping liberal indoctrination out of our classrooms. Trump conservative Dale Strong for Congress.
I'm Dale Strong, and I approve this message.
Okay. Where do I start? So, by no means could anyone ever objectively describe Casey Wardynski as someone who is progressive, who is left, who is liberal, anti-racist. None of those things would accurately describe Casey Wardynski. And but there is some truth to this ad, and I'll say how. He really did adamantly claim that Common Core would be taught in Huntsville City Schools regardless of what the state government said. That's true. He was big on Common Core. There's a lot of reasons. The whole debate around Common Core has been totally hijacked by right-wing weirdos who think it was, Obama's plot to turn their children gay or, something bizarre like that. That's not really why you should be concerned about it. It was a set of standards basically developed on Bill Gates' dime by a small cabal of corporate influencers, not actual educators. So that aside, yes, Wardynski was very pro-Common Core, and it had nothing to do with putting progressive curriculum in place at all. The other piece of it about critical race theory, so, and I may have mentioned this to you before, Jacob, the first time I actually encountered critical race theory, the phrase, in the wild, was about 2015. I was at a training for Huntsville City Schools where we were developing equity teams. As I mentioned in our video on Wardysnki, the Huntsville City Schools is under a consent order. It's a consent decree from the Department of Justice and federal courts over the longstanding desegregation case from 50 years ago. So basically, there were some training requirements that came out as a part of that to try to address inequities in the system and racism within the school system. So I was at this training, and yes, critical race theory was discussed. I remember it being mentioned and flashed up on the screen on the PowerPoint. White privilege was discussed. There were a couple consultants, I think, from Colorado who were doing this training. And so this all really did happen.
Wow, so Comrade Wardynski.
So now how much did he know about what was occurring there? I don't know. He's certainly not a proponent of any of that. He is a proponent of trying to see what he can get away with under federal supervision. And conducting these trainings was a way to, get the federal government off his back. Because ultimately, his goal and the goal of kind of the local elites here was to get the DOJ and the federal courts out of Huntsville city schools. And the only way they could do that was by getting this consent order and, feeling a little pain for a while, which included having training such as this. Because their long-term goal is that ultimately they're left to their own devices, which means they can build schools wherever they want. They can have schools as segregated as they want. For our very local listeners, think the Hampton Cove area. There won't be a high school in Hampton Cove under DOJ supervision. But if they manage to get DOJ out of town, that's when you can have a nice, new, shiny high school for the white side of town. But it is funny to see Wardynski running as he's Mr. Trump. He's the Trump bootlicker. He's an America First nationalist. His opponents are now painting him as this progressive critical race theory proponent. So he's just, he's getting hit from all sides. He's hopefully not going to make the runoff, but by all accounts, he is the second place candidate for this 5th congressional district.
Oh, wow.
He's raised about $500,000. A lot of max donations, a lot of corporate and PAC money has flown into his coffers. There's a very legitimate chance that he is in a runoff for this race. And Casey Wardynski, I've never met a man more narcissistic in my life, and I've dealt with a lot of bosses and managers and supervisors of various stripes and politicians for that matter. None of them come close in terms of the level of narcissism and really a crook through and through. So that's my thoughts. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Couldn't happen to a better guy. I hope that all the right-wing weirdos continue to pile on him. As sad as it is for the discourse of our country and the ways in which, CRT is like a dog whistle for virtually anything they don't like. If it happens to hurt him in the process, at least there's something good to come out of it.
There you go. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.